about your question, you know, the most easiest questions, what was the most important moment? It sounds very easy, but actually it's not so easy to demonstrate or to define this moment. Maybe first of all, I think it might be a little bit better that you learn a little bit more about me, because you might understand my thoughts a little bit better then. I actually started my professional career right after school. That was in 1982, which is, well, next year. It's a sort of celebration. I don't know if that's a really good year for celebrating, but it's a couple of years ago. I've never been a very good student, but a teacher of me asked me if I would like to join him in his newly started consulting company. Management consulting at this time was not an established profession, especially not for SMEs. And the service provider were the big international companies like Booz Allen or Boston Consulting or McKinsey. Some of them still exist, we all know them, some of them don't. The expected outcome of a consulting project at this time was to print tons of paper. That's what you got actually paid for. The more the better. I have to say, at this time, we used to write these reports on typewriters. It is totally weird if you think about that from now on, but I see in the smile of some of my colleagues on the face, they still know that time. I have been in the industry since this time, with a very short break of a couple of years when I started and ran a small restaurant. So I dropped into the restaurant business. But actually, I learned the profession from a very practical approach. I was part of a group of consultants that was established to exchange their experience at this time when everything was very new. This group still exists. That's very interesting. Many faces changed, but we meet once a year, sometimes twice a year, to exchange our experience still, and it's still very, very interesting. And it's still a main source of my professional learnings. I graded some courses on education on management consultants. CMC, of course, was one of them. And well, maybe you expect that, but even if you don't, but the CMC was a very important part of that, because with a little distance from the daily business, you learn a lot about the profession, and you really can benefit from this sort of education. I benefited a lot. And there is no certain moment, but at some time I realized that clients don't buy only expertise, and they also buy know-how, and they also buy leadership. They have a specific situation to handle, and if they only would need a specific know-how, they would look for an expert in this area. But they need somebody to run a project with all aspects of a project. That includes leading maybe a very small team, maybe just out of two people, the client and the consultant, but somebody needs to run it, somebody needs to take care of it, and somebody needs to have a focus on what was agreed and what's the goal, what's the issue to be handled. And at this time, I learned one of the dogmas that's still in my mind, and I still very often remember: always be one step ahead. If you are one step beyond, you are not the leader, you are the follower. And for managing consulting projects, you have to be the guy who is at least one step ahead. Shouldn't be too far away, because then you might lose the guys behind you, but never be one step beyond. But I think, in my understanding, leadership is actually not exclusively a professional attitude. So I need to add that since I'm a boy, I was a boy, I was a Boy Scout. And when I was a bigger boy, I started as a Boy Scout leader. And it is a very, very straightforward method to learn more about leadership. You can imagine children give immediate feedback on your performance, and it's very direct response. So I think I was well, maybe 15, 16 or 17. I don't know exactly my age at this time, but it's so much about communication and so much about understanding your stakeholders that you learn in this with this regards that I benefited a lot of them. I'm telling you that because these are two different perspectives of the leadership, and it shows the diversity of challenges. And there are still, I don't know, lots of different perspectives, and these perspectives might be very different for every single person in this group today. So leadership has to do something about your target group and your culture and your experience and the environment. So coming back to your question, what was the moment? Well, maybe being the chair of the ISO committee sounds funny for you because the ISO committee is an ICMCI, was an ICMCI initiated activity, but that's a couple of years ago. But I want to mention that because I have been chair of this ISO committee where we developed the management consulting standard. And that was a really important experience for me. It was a next level of leading a committee with more than 50 member countries over a period of 2 years, all those different personalities from around the world, different cultural backgrounds, different understanding of management consulting, and different personal goals, different, like, I remember very good Chris might understand this very good because I always remember the Canadians that the perspective of the ice bear in the standard. We were, joking a little bit about that, but it's in the standard. And as well, we have the perspective of the still growing economies, or economies with total different cultural background, like China. And if you bring together these two different approaches, the Chinese and the Canadian approach, and try to find a solution for different perspectives, that was very challenging, and it was delightful for me to learn so much in these 2 years. And I could use all my experience, starting from being a Boy Scout leader, to lead so many different complex consulting projects. So I don't know how much time I have left, but I would like to summarize those different ideas on my personal leadership moment and on leadership in general. First of all, I would say leadership is a service. It's not about being the boss everybody is serving to. It's the other way around. It's the leader who is the servant for everybody else. Different stakeholders, different leadership. If you compare leadership in politics or leadership for sports trainers, for example, they require power. You need to be the biggest, the most powerful person, then you are the leader. If you lose one of these, people don't trust you and you're not the leader anymore. And you demonstrate your capability of leading in terms of sports trainers, for example, by being really powerful, especially when you train a team, football, soccer, or whatever. And the same is to politics. If you are not accepted by everybody else as a prime minister or as any politicians, you won't be able to lead. It's kind of archaic. Leadership in the consulting business and in the volunteering organizations like ICMCI means being very sensitive. you need to have a lot of respect for other peoples and different cultures, and you need to guide to achieve common goals. It's different. You cannot use the same approach in both ways. Third, you cannot prevent to be a leader. It's absolutely important to be authentic. I think that's one of the key components. There's nothing to add about that. Fourth, I think, out of my experience, everybody contributes. Sometimes the competences or skills are a little bit hidden and you need to dig, but once you uncover them, especially those people are they are really extremely valuable for running a good project. And last, I already mentioned, always at least one step ahead. Otherwise, you're not the leader, you will follow.